That's sick. How you doing, Cassie? Yeah, I'm alright. Just chilling. Getting everything ready. You know how I be? Teeny tiny little window. I don't know why it's like this. It just is. Okay. Let's play a game. As I said, there was a 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. And there was unusually light fog. Let's see, visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. That's not true. Because how could there have been witnesses?
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Yeah, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? So the witnesses don't exist then? That's right. One of them's a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That's correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute! At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas street lights. Gah! The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. Seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he's just bought. He was on his way from a bookshop, it seems. Just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Hold it!
From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print.
Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition, comatose no less.
I'm afraid so, my lord, yeah. She's been treating at Bots. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial. Started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be.
Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events.
Luck is on your client's side, it seems.
On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky.
Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid.
Hold it! Mr. Natsume's belongings?
I think you'll find all that's there in the photographic print of the crime scene.
Oh yes, the 3 books on the floor.
That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling on the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume would have had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
That must be what happened, my lord, yes.
Hold it! The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. Bloke's room was stacked to the floor to ceiling with those musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is here, Bourbon Books. Little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meersham Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this.
That's relevant somehow. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. Most important point that the inspector just made being...
The name of the bookstore, apparently.
Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor?
What?
Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance.
Maybe.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes! It could be a very important clue.
Very well. Not that I see it being of any great significance. But please, revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, my lord. Whatever you say.
Could the man be any more sardonic?
Alright, Chandler, calm down.
He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes.
Though he doesn't.
Objection.
I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, and details of the purchase of 3 second-hand books.
Had you found it in the accused room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it.
Go on.
This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your books. Y-O-R-A, I presume.
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books.
Eh? What? Inspector, do you know this other bookshop?
Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that. Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection.
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes, for what difference it makes. Whatever the man purchased is musty terms. It makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection.
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here if that might help. Oh, yeah, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would most certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed this location at all.
Could that be true?
Oh my! It rather depends on where this other bookshop is. But I do declare it must be a possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said?
Absolutely. It absolutely could be right.
Inspector Gregson, where is the Your Books establishment?
Well, obviously, we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Mersham Street going east.
And there you have it. As you can clearly see now. Oh.
My learned Nipponese friend is obviously training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I, didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. The accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books. There's no doubt he would still pass the place where the victim was stabbed.
Yes, thank you, Inspector.
Gah.
Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Ah!
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
Beg your pardon?
Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? The prosecution's assertions is correct. The members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah! She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. It claims Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but...
I mean, you didn't have to.
You could have easily gone down here.
I don't see why not. Or up here and down. I don't know why he would specifically go down here. Let's object.
The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Explain yourself, counsel.
Yeah, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from Your Books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. The defendant used these streets. Look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what's commonly referred to as the long way round.
Ah,
On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home?
well,
The answer's extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings as the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
yeah, I've got it! Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home.
I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home.
I don't believe this!
I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors?
But even if that is the case, the defense still...
I agree with Lord Van Zakes. Wholeheartedly in every way.
What? I don't believe it! Does this mean...
We members of the jury are completely convinced now.
Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
If he just likes wandering around, why wouldn't he take the longer way around? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Daruhodo... No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow.
Those are the eyes of Quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago.
Call it antiquated if you will. But it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses.
Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas refusals to throw in his alley.
Man, he's so fucking onkus, dude.
Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
The jurors' contentions.
For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted him himself, didn't he?
If they said that the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim.
The man who could have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in winter.
So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I got work to be done. Your books, yes. Nice shop that. But bourbon books, not worth a visit.
With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear.
When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in a green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes.
Furthermore, we've heard from the inspector that the defendant fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Why do you have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible! How could I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruto, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forwards.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it.
Jury examination. Nipponese oddity already admitted himself, didn't he? He said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes. Why, it can only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I got work to be doing. Your books. Nice shop that. But not bourbon books? No, not worth the visit. Poor woman was attacked from behind, okay. Man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. The woman in green collapsed before his eyes. It could only have been the victim. The little Lebanese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? I can press him, can't I?
Excuse me, but aren't you?
Yes, that's right. I was the witness stand myself just 2 days ago.
Yeah, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the sight of it anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you?
That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fussicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute.
Sorry?
Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals.
Oh, well, you know. Water under the bridge.
Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop.
If I could turn back the clock.
Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind as who's guilty and who isn't.
Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it!
You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly, that funny little Nipponese man with a disturbing mustache is the culprit.
Let's not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life's over. The man is obviously a leather-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, don't you think you would have concocted something more credible?
I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my! You're too kind, my lord.
That went well. For her.
Hold it!
But you can't deny there are other routes Mr. Natsume would have taken back from your books.
Oh, yes. Like you drew on the map, you mean? Was that it? Calabash Road or something?
Precisely.
But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not.
Well, yeah. That's true.
And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there?
Well, yeah, that's true as well.
And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he?
Well, yeah. That's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold. So the way I see it, you want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yeah. Oh, why is all this so true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. Ah! I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. Huh. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Hold it!
Whatever is the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garrett, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room.
The master's wife? Where'd you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid.
The maid. You understand? He's keeping up that charade? This is gonna be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? You had been selected for the jury of this trial, I mean.
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes his lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although, he's only been in a little over a week now.
And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me! Yes! He's just the sort.
What?
Spending all his time in that dark, dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks. And don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbours are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something.
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This'll take as long as it takes.
Took a clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too. And so's my family's.
Ah,
Like so you wouldn't understand. But a labourer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat. And neither do the wife and kids.
oh, I see. That must be very hard.
I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late, the work's taken. It's tough. This time of year, there's a water and gas supply pipes bursting left and right and centre. They're after cheap labourer to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slug from dawn to dusk it is.
So, you were digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you?
That's right.
In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence?
That's right. Mersham Street it was.
Mearsham Street? At the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please.
What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over right now?
Please, sir, it's important.
Fine, I'll do it then.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, counsel? Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
Yeah. What? Oh, I just want to get this done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir. What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what being said on the map of our local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited the bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. On the same day, we now know that there was work being carried out on Mearsham Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Mearsham Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that now, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more for the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way.
So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have. Oh, I suppose that must be right, eh?
Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back to the bookshop, but we see now that he had no choice. Yes!
My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience I could say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue, so we can get to the bottom of what really happened.
What about you, sir? Oh, me? Oh, well, alright then. If there's a hole in prosecution's argument, it should be filled, that's what I say.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo, that was wonderful! Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, it'll prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now if only. If we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that will make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume.
we might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal.
Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what?
No. What I said was, hold it! What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books. They have it there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about.
And what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about.
Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time?
Oh, yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's the most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road?
That's right. I live in the cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry. Extremely sick. No, I'm quite alright now.
You've changed through the jury's minds, Mr. Naruto. Yeah, just 2 more to go. Delivered the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. I wish I knew how to do the Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now.
Boop.
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly show a fraud.
Trying that again.
Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
The flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. Why, whatever do you mean, sir?
I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him in the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement in front of his eyes.
Yes, we're well aware of all this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we be sure of that, madam?
My, whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him on that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my!
My goodness, you mean? That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat, whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes, was the jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that. Oh, goodness me.
Oh? Sorry, you need to pay.
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot, my old man! If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming around there, would have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
Lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well...
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury.
The trial will continue.
Objection!
He has to spend a fortune in glasses.
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
What? Lord Van Zeeks?
It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet, we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Eh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
Haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth.
Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right. It took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents?
Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all.
In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone with moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend?
Ah, me?
Well, can't say you're wrong, no.
What?
And did you, perchance, erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works?
Ah, I wouldn't dream of it.
Waste of time. No coaches would have a hope of passing anyway. And we just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I could see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Ah!
Is that true, is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to the lodgings, Mr. Natsme walked down Briar Road.
Ah! Crushed in a single sentence.
An old man.
Cold man? You can talk.
You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say I remember.
You don't remember?
How about a wager, my learned friend? You said it was this old man the accused saw. But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Ah!
Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself.
My lord,
If you had such a treacherous argument up your sleeve, Why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination?
Huh. I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they've been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What? What are you talking about?
My lord, the prosecution requests the permission to call his next witnesses to the stand.
Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
It's next witnesses? Mr. Naruto, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright. No matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing that to the very end, until this battle's over.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Constable Royal Bates, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir.
And on my spate, Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town's hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired.
Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world.
Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol the boarding houses and pubs and collect taxes, survey the streets and check that the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting, and extinguishing our streetlights.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
I wouldn't just be falling asleep at my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor.
And a man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in opposite direction. They witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rowley?
Constable Rowley Bates, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir.
Oh, what a great witness he's gonna be.
Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir.
I'll be right back. It's time for my hourly break. Haha.
And I'm back.
There he goes again.
It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed onto the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day.
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place.
What an unfortunate behancing. And on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh no! I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They're testifying under oath that it was without a doubt the accused Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord.
Our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. What do you mean by that?
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Bate? Oh, no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women and children. The elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rowley looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling?
Oh, I just finished my bait. Pat and I were heading down to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir. Yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But police is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end.
What's that now?
A warrant card, sir. Proof from a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to all us policemen who have sworn our duty. Patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace in the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day, without fail and without grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boat is all the Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secured.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then.
But sir, on just that particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Miss Pete puts up with a lot of being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care.
Ho, Pat. Ho, Rowley. No, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps?
No, fuck you. It's cute.
And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Hold it!
Surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas of the street lamps, would you?
I absolutely could. The Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
A light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you. The fog was only light, didn't he?
Yeah. And what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, it seems. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. But it's thick. You can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yeah, alright, I'll take your point. Now, would you stop shaking your husband about?
A constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was a little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Oh, yeah. It was the accused, and no mistake. Moustache, the hunched bar, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Unmistakable, sir!
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beats saw what they thought they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene of the crime on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same.
So if that's true, Where does it leave us?
The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony.
Oh no! Then what do we do?
If Kazuma-sama was here,
What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean somewhere else?
Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which might appear to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate.
Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
I always seem to be so up against it.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes? That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. It does sound exactly like the victim pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yes, unfortunately it does.
And you're certain at that time there was nobody else nearby?
Yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there were street lights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around. It's not right, my darling.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. But Briar Road is dead straight, and you can see fairly long down the road on the pavement. And there's street lighting as well. I didn't see any other place here.
Before sleep takes firm hold, your answer please, Mr. B. Are you quite sure of what you've just said?
Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day washing the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia's true.
Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. We're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attackers. Starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly.
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonable clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
All of a sudden, one of them collapsed to the floor and the other scattered something before running off.
Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, I realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
Yeah, that's right. It was small books. I see. How old the books? Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them all around the victim laying the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did it when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was the man with the duck with no questions, sir. A moustache, the hunched back, cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes. And then suddenly, threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now, please, continue.
Yes, sir.
Hold it!
Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I'm the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I asked Mrs. Bate to go. I was off duty by that point. Well, Bobby's never truly off duty, of course. I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. B. Preserving the scene of a crime is the task of a considerable importance. That's why I said Patricia, you see. I told you where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance. What exactly do you mean by the right police box?
Depends on a crime's location, you see. That's who deals with it. Well, the woman was stabbed wasn't exactly on my bait. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat of the incident fell under, so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could, and I asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple's love working together, you know.
Thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh, please. You're making us blush. Isn't he, darling?
Sir! What Patricia said, sir!
Let's move on, shall we?
Mr. Lawyer, sir. Can I ask you something?
Oh, yeah, of course. What is it?
Well, you've been asking us all these questions about everything we told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right, is it? Well, out with it.
What? No, it's not really that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare question how reliable my testimony is? No, I won't do it all. A Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of.
Even if I decided to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fists down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Miss B. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling?
Then do so.
Hold it!
Yeah, we know there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say.
Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question.
After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for some good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it all for Rowley. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime.
Well, Mrs. B, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Are you all listening? There was Pictures of Monsieur Somebody or Other, and What's It Yarnins? And there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the Thin Gummy something. You see? Yeah. I see there were one or two holes in your memory. Oh well, they're along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Anyone who upset my Patricia will have me to answer to.
Terrifying.
Yeah, she really is. That's it, is it? Baby, 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 baby.
One, two, three.
Objection!
So, you're saying there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. Picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yarnins, A Meal for Someone, and the Thing Gummy something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. There's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no! What flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no,
can't be. I remember seeing them. There are 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there. I swear it. I saw them. Oh, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied on. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh, no, no, no. No!
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my Nipponese friend.
What?
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving.
Ah!
So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair?
He sees right through me.
But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
How?
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
That print? You mean to say?
Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand.
I don't believe it. It's the 4th book.
As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No! No!
Order! Order!
There, you see? Look at that! Look! 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 Yeah. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. She's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt of books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. B, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gabarreau, in fact. As the court has just heard, The witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beats' powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rowley? A gentleman made me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia's flawless.
What? But there are only 3 books on the receipt. Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book, that of which is shown this photographic print.
I'm so sorry, Counsel. Does that not seem odd? Or should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt?
It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches.
Did she take like a fucking bite out of the book?
In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book?
I wonder, what became of that 4th book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, Counsel.
My pleasure, my lord. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see? Everything I said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nepalese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You've heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruto, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious situation.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, it could very well make the matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now?
I don't know. My voice is fucked though, so I guess we'll find out tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Tomorrow.